Hello, City of Murfreesboro employees. I'm Pam Russell. Welcome to this special edition of HR in the Know. Before we begin, here's a special message from our City Manager, Rob Lyons. Rob?
Hello, fellow City employee. My name is Rob Lyons, and it is my honor to work alongside you as your City Manager. During the video you're about to watch, our Human Resources Department is going to share information with you about the City's health insurance benefit program. Before Pam and Karen dive into the details, I wanted to briefly go over 2 points. 1, the strength of the City's benefits, and 2, the big picture about why the health insurance changes are occurring. First, the strength of our benefits. You may not realize that about 2 out of every $3 spent by the City is spent on employees for pay, health insurance, retirement, and other benefits. Our City benefits are outstanding, and I'll give you 2 reasons why I believe that. Number 1, over the past 2 years, Murfreesboro has offered the highest pay increases to its employees in the state. 2, according to a survey at Tennessee Cities, Murfreesboro spent about $1,000 per employee, or 11% more than any other Tennessee city on health insurance costs. You were recently given a personalized statement of your total compensation. It showed the total investment incurred by the City for each person. I hope you had a chance to look at this statement closely so you can better understand the value of your total benefits package. Now let's talk a little bit about the big picture. Each year, the City Manager is required to submit a balanced budget to City Council. This spending plan requires many difficult decisions, as the many needs and priorities of our city are balanced against the revenues available. As mentioned, Murfreesboro spends about 11% more on its health insurance program than other cities in Tennessee. The total cost of the city's health insurance program is $11 million annually, which makes it one of the largest expenditures in our overall budget. Now, there are 2 main factors driving the need to evaluate our health insurance program: decreased revenue growth and increased health care costs. The decreased revenue growth is due to the economic downturn. The city hasn't experienced the growth in new revenues as it had previously. This year, total revenues were flat when you back out the dedicated federal grant funds. Our health insurance costs are also increasing. The total number of city employees in 2008 is almost identical to today. However, our health insurance costs are 36% more with the same number of employees. This trend is simply unsustainable. The employee health insurance plan is self-insured. That means that the premiums paid by employees, which is 20% of the costs, and the contributions by the city, 80% of the costs, go directly to pay the medical claims, the pharmacy claims, and the other expenses of operating the plan. There is no insurance company. The city and its employees assume all of the costs and risks of the employee health insurance plan. HealthScope only administers the plan on the city's behalf. Your role. The upcoming changes are also directed to get you more involved in the decision-making about your personal health and well-being. In this video and in the coming months, you will hear about healthcare consumerism and the implementation of additional premium structures, as well as a wellness program. A new and innovative option, a health reimbursement arrangement, or HRA, will also be available. Now, this HRA is not mandatory, but it is a choice that is available to all employees. Although we are used to seeing annual increases in our employee premiums, this year the proposed changes may result in premium reductions for some employees. We want you to become more informed and more aware about you and your family's health insurance and the choices that you have before you. In conclusion, we understand that providing great benefits supports the health and productivity of our employees and their families. We understand that excellent benefits will attract and retain the best employees to city service. We also know that the cost of health insurance has risen rapidly. As a result, we know that we must find innovative and effective strategies to meet the dual goals of providing quality benefits and containing costs. I am confident the city's health insurance benefit program remains very strong. We hope this video and the efforts of the Human Resources Department and Benefits Communication Committee will help you better understand the changes.
By joining us today, you are taking a big step in becoming a well-informed employee. We hope that by the end of this program, you will have a good understanding of our benefits and your options and know exactly what is expected of you. Today, we will be covering major changes to our medical benefits, including an addition of an optional health reimbursement arrangement. We will also briefly cover dental and some of our other insurance plans. As you watch this program, you may wish to make notes as questions arise. You can get these answered at a later time by an HR representative. This year, benefit open enrollment will be mandatory and begin October 29, 2012 through November 9, 2012. More details on that later. Let's get started with some basics. Karen?
Thanks, Pam. Let's begin with a little bit of background information to make sure everyone is up to speed. As you may be aware, healthcare is one of the largest and fastest growing expenses in the city's budget, with the cost of claims rising an average of 36% over the last 5 years. Approximately $11 million are being spent for claims for employees and their families each year. As we have often explained, expenses like these are not sustainable for the city, and in 2012 we began making major changes. One of these changes was selecting HealthScope as our third-party administrator and Cigna Great West as our medical provider network. This year we are making other major changes by providing a health reimbursement arrangement, or HRA, and a new PPO plan, which we will talk about later on in greater detail. Let's move on now and talk about the 2013 benefit options. Pam?
For 2013, employees will have a choice between two medical plans: the new Preferred Provider Organization, better known as a PPO plan, and the new Health Reimbursement Arrangement, also known as the HRA. Retirees and Medicare-eligible employees will have the choice between two supplemental plans: the PPO Supplemental, which works similar to last year's plan, or the Medicare HRA Supplemental. The supplemental plans will be discussed in greater detail at a separate meeting for those eligible. If you have group health coverage elsewhere, such as your spouse's employer, you have the option to waive all city medical coverage. Now Karen is going to break down one of the medical plan options for you in greater detail. Karen?
Let's get started. First, let's talk about the new health reimbursement arrangement, which today we will be calling the HRA Plan. If you enroll in the HRA Plan, the City of Murfreesboro sets aside money or funds for you. This money is used to pay towards your deductible and co-insurance for eligible medical expenses incurred. If you don't have enough money in your HRA to cover the full deductible, you are responsible for the remaining portion, which is known as a bridge deductible. Here's how the plan works. The city will fund $750 for an employee-only HRA account and $1,500 for an employee plus dependent account. Again, this money can be used towards the deductible and out-of-pocket maximum expenses incurred by an employee and their dependents. Any unused money will roll to the next year, and if exhausted, the member is responsible for their bridge deductible. The annual deductible for employee only will be $1,500, and for those with employee plus dependents on the medical plan, it will be $3,000. The co-insurance amount, which is the percentage of the health care costs that you share with the plan once the deductible is met, will be 20%. The annual out-of-pocket maximum for employee-only coverage will be set at $3,000, and for those that cover dependents, it will be set at $6,000. Before we begin talking about the PPO plan, I'd like to take this time to explain exactly how the HRA works. Take a look at the healthcare highway for the HRA plan. As you start off in the beginning of the year, you are in the first leg of the trip. During this portion of the road, anytime you need lab work, x-rays, surgery, or anything normally not covered at a routine doctor's visit, you are responsible for paying the full negotiated rate. These expenses add up until you reach your annual deductible, which will be $1,500 or $3,000, and this will depend on whether you cover just yourself or any dependents. If you have a routine doctor visit during this leg of the trip, you pay a $20 copay, which is not applied towards your deductible. After you meet your deductible, you move on to the next part of the road, and the health plan kicks in and begins sharing the costs with you. During this co-insurance part of the trip, you pay 20% of the negotiated rate, and the plan pays the remaining 80%. And finally, as you continue down the road later in the year, you may reach the final destination, the out-of-pocket maximum. If you reach this final checkpoint, the The plan will pay 100% of all your costs for all covered medical expenses with the exception of copays. This out-of-pocket max is like a safety net or worst-case scenario. Keep in mind that preventative care is covered at 100%. Later on in the program, we will talk more about health reimbursement arrangements, but at this time, I would like to mention that the funds that the city puts in your HRA account can be used at any leg of the trip for any qualified deductible and out-of-pocket maximum expenses. Now let's go back to Pam, who will explain your next medical plan option, the new PPO plan.
Now that you've heard the new HRA plan and how it works, let's discuss the new PPO plan. This plan is sort of a combination between the two different plan styles. It has copays like our old EPO plan did, but it also has deductibles like our old PPO plan. Just like the HRA, preventative care is now covered at 100%. To explain this better, I'm showing you a chart on the screen now. All the items listed at the top of the chart above the red line have a copay, so you don't have to worry about a deductible and will not have an out-of-pocket maximum for these items. All the items below the red line and anything not shown on the chart will have a deductible, coinsurance, or be subject to an out-of-pocket maximum. As you can see from the top portion of the chart, if you choose the PPO plan and go to the doctor's office for a sick visit, you will be responsible for a $20 copay. The plan will pay the rest. Since there is a copay, you do not have to reach your deductible first. Whether it is day 1 of the new plan year or day 365, a primary care doctor visit will require a $20 copay. A specialist visit will require a $25 copay. Urgent care will require a $35 copay, and an emergency room visit will require a $250 copay. However, if you are admitted to the hospital during the emergency room visit, the $250 copay will be waived. Additionally, pharmacy benefits under this PPO plan will be covered without regard to the deductible or out-of-pocket maximum. For a full list of covered prescriptions, please visit the HealthScope website at www.healthscopebenefits.com and click on the Envision Rx tab. So again, whether it is day 1 or day 365 of the plan year, covered prescriptions will be managed according to the 3-tier pharmacy schedule shown here. With the PPO plan, it also doesn't matter if the drug is a treatment or preventative medication. As long as it's a covered drug, it will follow the 3-tier schedule. Mail order and specialty drugs are available through Orchard Pharmacy. It is also important to note that all expenses with copays, meaning everything above the red line, will not count towards your deductible or out-of-pocket maximum for the year. Now let's focus on the items below the red line. These items are all subject to a deductible of $500 for employee only or $1,500 for employee and dependents. Prior to reaching your deductible for these items, you pay the full negotiated rate. Then, after the deductible is met, the city or plan pays the 80% and you pay the remaining coinsurance amount, which is 20%. Again, this coinsurance amount is of the negotiated or discounted rate, not the full billed rate. Coinsurance continues until the out-of-pocket maximum is met, which on the PPO plan is $1,500 for employee only and $3,000 for employee and dependent coverage. Services that fall under this category include hospital stays, outpatient procedures or surgeries, MRIs, X-rays, lab work, CAT scans, durable medical equipment, and other similar medical services. Basically, anything that was not mentioned or covered on the top of this chart will fall under the bottom half of this chart. Now I'm going to throw it back to Karen to talk about some special incentives of the plan.
Thanks, Pam, for breaking down both the PPO plan for our viewers. Now let's take a look at the premiums for 2013 medical plans. You will remember we used to have 2 tiers for employees to choose from, employee only and employee plus family. In 2013, employees will have 4 tiers to choose from. They include employee only, employee and child or children, employee and spouse, and employee and family. By moving to a 4-tier structure, employees have more options to choose from when making medical benefit decisions. Now let's move on and discuss the monthly premium. The monthly cost for the HRA plan is as follows: $72.69 for employee-only coverage, $130.84 for employee and child or children, $152.65 for employee and spouse, $232.61 for employee plus family. You will notice that there is no increase for employee premiums this year in the HRA plan. In fact, you will see a slight decrease in the premiums over last year. This is in part because the city has decided to fund 83% of the premium versus the standard 80%. Also, providing a 4-tier structure allows the distribution of funds to be spread more appropriately. For the PPO plan, the monthly premiums are as follows: $91.26 for employee only, $164.42 for employee plus child or children, $191.83 for employee plus spouse, and $292.31 for employee plus family. As you can see, most of these premiums have gone down from last year. Again, this is due in part to the introduction of the 4-tier benefit structure. Pam, back to you.
Thanks, Karen. Now let's talk for a few minutes about the flexible spending account that will be available in 2013. Flexible spending accounts, or FSAs, offer tax savings for employees. Since most of you will have health-related expenses, why not pay for them with tax-free dollars? It just makes good financial sense to take advantage of a health-related account. In 2013, we will be offering 2 types of FSAs. The first is a medical FSA, and the second is a dependent FSA. Let's start by discussing the medical FSA. All benefit-eligible employees are eligible to sign up and fund an FSA account. The FSA is a tax-advantaged financial account into which you can automatically deposit a portion of your paycheck on a pre-tax basis. You can use the money to pay for qualified medical expenses, including items not covered 100% by insurance, like dental, vision, prescriptions, and can be used to pay toward your deductible and copays. Let's dig a little deeper and explore the ins and outs along with the pros and cons of an FSA. Once you decide to take advantage of an FSA, you will need to determine an annual allotment you would like to contribute. You should think about the health care expenses that you'll have for the year. Also think about the expenses from last year and any upcoming medical procedures not covered by insurance. Once you have a total, divide it by the number of pay periods for the year. This might be the amount of money you would want pre-tax from your paycheck into an FSA. Beginning in January 2013, there is a maximum of $2,500 that can be contributed to your medical FSA account annually. You can also use a debit card known as a flex card to withdraw money directly from your FSA. Keep in mind that a flex card doesn't always work with every transaction, and there may be occasion where you have to prove or pay all your transactions and get reimbursed by filling out a reimbursement form and submitting receipts to HealthScope Benefits online or by fax. Also, the IRS requires you to keep documentation of your FSA eligible expenses. Now let's talk about the second type of FSA. All eligible employees will have the opportunity to participate in the Dependent Care Flexible Spending Account. If you have a qualifying dependent, you may wish to take advantage of paying for child care with pre-tax dollars. This benefit does not automatically carry over. You will need to sign up during open enrollment and specify the amount you would like to have deducted annually, up to a maximum of $5,000. The Dependent Care Flexible Spending Account will not have an option of a flex card. Employees signing up for this type of account will need to submit their receipts for reimbursement. There are several reasons you should set up an FSA account, but the most convincing reason is because it could actually increase your take-home pay. This is because the money added to the FSA is not subject to payroll taxes, which could then lower your tax bracket and lower your annual taxable earnings. A note of caution: make sure you do not put more money into the account than you believe you'll use during the plan year, because unused funds cannot be returned to you. That is, if you don't use it, you lose it. Also, you cannot make changes to your deductions during the plan year unless you experience a qualifying event. Next up, Karen and I are going to provide you with examples so you can see how both the HRA and PPO plan really work.
First, let's meet Jack. Jack is on the HRA plan. Let's assume Jack decides to cover just himself as employee only. This means the city has funded $750 in his HRA account. Let's see what happens as Jack uses the HRA plan throughout the year. Early in the year, Jack gets sick. The doctor's office charges his plan $100. However, Cigna Great West has already negotiated a rate of $65, so the doctor has to write off the difference. Jack will only pay $20 for his visit because the HRA plan has a copay of $20 for routine office visits. Because copays do not apply towards the deductible, Jack's deductible continues to remain $1,500. A few weeks later, Jack returns to his primary care physician to have some blood drawn for some lab testing to be complete. Jack does not see his primary care doctor, only the nurse to have blood drawn. Jack is not responsible for a copay, however, the cost of the lab work is $225. The negotiated rate is $115, and since Jack has not paid his deductible, Jack is responsible for the $115. The $115 is applied towards Jack's deductible and out-of-pocket maximum. Remember, Jack selected the HRA employee-only plan, so the city put $750 in Jack's HRA account, which he uses to pay the $115 claim. A month later, Jack goes to the pharmacy to get a prescription. The cost of the medication is $153.20. The contracted rate is also $153.20. Jack is responsible for a $50 copay because Lipitor is a Tier 3 non-preferred drug. Jack cannot use his HRA funds to pay for this medication. Those funds are only used for deductible and coinsurance expenses. Therefore, Jack uses his own money to pay for his prescription. This would be a good time to mention two very important facts. The first is that atorvastatin is the generic form of Lipitor. Had Jack asked his doctor for the generic brand of Lipitor, he would have a $10 copay versus a $50 copay. The second point is that if Jack had signed up for an FSA account, he could use that money to pay for his medication. Okay, back to Jack's claims. Jack has now paid a total of $115 towards his deductible. Now the unthinkable happens. Jack gets into an accident and has to be hospitalized for 10 days. The cost of the hospital bill is $25,500. The contracted rate is $16,250. Jack is responsible for $2,885 or 20% of the contracted rate until he reaches his out-of-pocket maximum. The city or plan pays the remaining $13,365. That's because Jack's deductible for the HRA is $1,500 and his total out-of-pocket maximum is $3,000. Since Jack used his $115 from his HRA account for his lab work a while back, his remaining deductible and out-of-pocket balance was $2,885. Jack uses his remaining $635 from his HRA account to pay towards his deductible. Jack is now responsible for his remaining deductible balance, which is $750. He is also responsible for his out-of-pocket maximum of $1,500. When Jack's total paid deductible of $1,500 is added to his total paid out-of-pocket balance, Jack has now met his full deductible and out-of-pocket maximum of $3,000. The city pays the remaining $13,365. So what happens to Jack for the remainder of the year? Since Jack met his out-of-pocket maximum, he pays nothing for any other covered medical treatment that would normally be applied to his deductible and out-of-pocket maximum. These expenses will be paid for in full by the plan. Next, Pam will take a look at an employee with the exact same claims but on the PPO plan.
Let's meet Jill, who is on the PPO plan. Let's assume Jill, just like Jack, decides to cover just herself as employee only. Jill has decided to sign up for a medical flexible spending account, or FSA, and elects to put $1,200 annually into her account. Let's see what happens to Jill as she uses the PPO plan throughout the year. Early in the year, Jill gets sick. The doctor's office charges her plan $100. However, Cigna Great West has already negotiated a $65 rate, so the doctor has to write off the difference. Jill will only pay $20 for this visit because the PPO plan has a copay of $20 for routine office visits. Because copays do not apply toward deductibles, Jill's deductible continues to remain $500. A few weeks later, Jill returns to her primary care physician to have blood drawn for some lab testing to be complete. Jill, just like Jack, did not see her primary care doctor, only the nurse. Jill is not responsible for a copay. However, the cost of the lab work is $225. Since Cigna Great West has negotiated a rate of $115, and since Jill has not paid her deductible, Jill is responsible for the $115. The $115 is applied towards Jill's deductible. Jill did not select an HRA plan, so she did not receive HRA money to use toward her deductible. However, Jill did sign up for an FSA account, so she uses her Flex card to pay the $115. A month later, Jill goes to the pharmacy to get a prescription. The cost of the medication is $153.20. The contracted rate is also $153.20. Jill is responsible for a $50 copay because Lipitor is a Tier 3 non-preferred drug. The $50 will not go towards Jill's deductible or out-of-pocket expenses. Jill uses her Flex card to pay her $50 copay. So far this year, Jill has paid a total of $115 toward her deductible. Now the unthinkable happens, and Jill gets into an accident and has to be hospitalized for 10 days. The total cost of the hospital bill is $25,500. The contracted rate is $16,250. Jill is responsible for $1,385 or 20% of the contracted rate until she reaches her out-of-pocket maximum. The plan pays the remaining $14,865. That's because Jill's deductible for the PPO plan is $500 and her out-of-pocket maximum is $1,500. Since Jill has paid $115 toward that amount when she paid her portion of the lab testing a few months back, her remaining deductible and out-of-pocket balance was $1,385. The plan paid the remaining $14,865. So what happens to Jill for the rest of the year? Well, just like Jack, Jill has satisfied her deductible and out-of-pocket maximum, so she will not have to pay for any services that require coinsurance, such as hospital visits, x-rays, and lab work. Jill will need to continue to pay copays for doctor visits and prescriptions. Now that you've had time to review these examples, it's easy to see why it's important to look at the total plan cost to determine which plan may be better for you in the long run.
Well, I think that covers a lot of ground about the medical plans and health benefits. Hopefully by now you understand your options and how everything works. Now let's move away from talking about the medical plan and review changes to our other benefits. For 2013, we are happy to report that there are no changes to our 2 dental plans and our voluntary life insurance plan. For dental coverage, we will once again have Delta Dental and Assurant as our dental carriers. Rates for both dental plans will remain the same. This year, employees will have the option of vision insurance as a voluntary benefit to choose from. The city has contracted with VSP Choice Plan, one of the largest vision carriers. Employees electing this coverage will have a $10 copay for an annual eye exam, a $25 copay for lenses, and will receive a $130 allowance for contact lenses annually. Frames are covered up to $130 every 2 years. These benefits are only available when using a VSP choice provider. Benefits will be reduced when using an out-of-network provider. To find a provider, go to www.vsp.com. The monthly premium for an employee only is $6.21. Employee plus spouse is $9.94. Employee plus child or children is $10.15, and the premium for a family contract is $16.36. Since premiums for this benefit will be on a pre-tax basis, election decisions will be made for 1 calendar year. You may only change coverage as a result of a qualified event. In terms of the other benefits, we have more good news. Voluntary life insurance rates will remain the same for 2013. If you are planning on making changes to your voluntary life insurance during open enrollment, remember, normal medical underwriting rules will apply.
Thank you for your attention thus far. We are nearing the home stretch and we only have a few more items to cover. Let's begin by taking a moment to briefly recap some of the most important points concerning open enrollment. Number 1, open enrollment begins October 29th and runs through November 9th. We will be conducting open enrollment online. We know this is a big change and will require a lot of training and coordination. Please be assured that we are very much aware of this, and we're taking steps to put educational meetings and material together for employees to transition into this change with ease. Look for more to come regarding online enrollment. Number 2, benefit enrollment is mandatory. You will need to enroll in the HRA Plan, the PPO Plan, or elect no coverage. Failure to do so may result in no coverage for the 2013 enrollment period. Number 3, during open enrollment, you will have an opportunity to enroll in both the medical and dependent care flexible spending account. Remember, for the medical FSA, you will receive a flex card which can be used in many cases at the time of service. Number 4, you will have an option of enrolling or changing your voluntary life insurance election. Keep in mind, if you wish to change your election, your application will be subject to underwriting. Lastly, benefit elections will be effective January 2013, but the premiums or payroll deductions for your newly elected benefits will begin in December 2012. As we bring our benefit presentation to a close, remember, we will have several benefit meetings set up to speak with you one-on-one about our benefits. Well, we hope that covers everything you ever wanted to know about our benefits. I know this is a lot of information to absorb at one time. That's why we're making this video available on the city's website and on DVD so that you can watch it again if you'd like. Also, be on the lookout for support material that'll help you choose the health care plan that best suits you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to learn more about the city's benefit package. Now you're in the know.